Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Above the Bar podcast, where each week we belly up to the bar with a new guest, find out what they do, who they are, and what makes them great. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. Alrighty, folks, welcome back to the Above the Bar podcast. It's your host, Sean. It's that first, I can get this one right. It's the first Wednesday in June, because normally I jack that up completely. So I at least am able to get that one right. So make sure you folks, you take a minute as you're logging on and joining us. Make sure you're sharing this around, but joining us. And I didn't even think about it when we were talking. I should have found out exactly where my man was hailing from, but we'll figure that out here completely in a moment. So joining us, and look, I had a really great opening plan for him, and then he told me I was pronouncing his name wrong, because I was gonna say Zurriane the Hurricane was coming through with us, but he said it's Zurriane. So joining us, and I'm gonna assume it's somewhere down south in the land of milk and honey. It's Mr. Chief. We can call you Chief Warrant Officer if you want me to. Chief Warrant Officer Zurriane Bennett.
Hey, how you doing?
What's up, brother? How are you?
I'm always all right, so I can do better. Patience and perseverance.
See, that's what I'm talking about. See, this is more proof. Keep proving to me that you were definitely a chief warrant officer, because every one of them always had like, chief warrant officer, this bullshit. Listen here, Marine. Let me go ahead and tell you something. Let me go ahead and tell you a story. And every time you guys had something for us. So we're going to be talking about his 4,000 books that he's written. It's actually 34, but it's still pretty impressive to me. We're going to be talking about all the books he's written, all the different things he's gotten into, how you can find ways to empower yourself at any age. A lot of his books, when you start checking out the titles here, you'll understand what we're talking about. Where'd my notes go? Did I lose my notes? I'm really good at losing notes too. I forgot to tell you that. But we're going to be talking about, he's got books from everything from pressure points, pain, comfort, pleasure, and sex. That's what I'm talking about. Self-defense for women, men, entrepreneurs, realtors, motorcycle riders. We got a little bit of everything. So we're going to get into that. But before we get too far into all those things, as always, folks, we got to talk about the big board over my right shoulder for Sticker and a Cause. If you've got something you're supporting, something you believe in, maybe you've written a book and you want other people to know about that book, whatever it happens to be, you can reach out to us on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, Instagram, TikTok. It's all the Above the Bar podcast. Our email is the Above the Bar podcast at gmail.com. And our website is the abovethebarpodcast.com. Reach out. Let me know what you got going on, what you got happening. We'll talk a little bit about it, see how we can help support you. I'll tell you where to send that address to. Once you share that address with me, we'll get everybody else to know about everything you got going on here, folks. It'll be a beautiful, beautiful thing, as always. So make sure you're sending all those things out. Also, folks, we got to talk about our sponsors, the people that pay the bills around here. That is Budget Blinds of East Greenbush, Hudson Cooksaki, and Schoharie, the North America's #1 window treatment company. They can handle everything from blinds, shades, shutters, drapes, tint, you name it, they got it. You can make sure you reach out to any one of those locations, and they'll take good care of you. As always, if you tell them you're there to belly up to the bar, they're going to give you an additional 5% off your entire order. Plus, this month, they're running 20% off a product and another 5% off anything motorized. So you tell them you're there to belly up to the bar and you buy a motorized shade, you can get 30% off of that thing. So make sure you're reaching out to Budget Blinds of East Greenbush, Hudson Cooksaki, and Schoharie, North America's largest custom window treatment company. All right there, boss. We are completely done.
Roger that.
Ready? So, how are you? Where are you at? I forgot to ask you. Normally I ask what state people are in.
I'm in Northern Virginia, right outside, about 25, 30 miles outside of D.C.
All right. So 25, 30 miles outside of D.C. is called Maryland?
No, that's north. I'm south of that. I'm in Virginia.
Oh, see, I'm originally from Baltimore.
Oh, okay. You want to be more boys.
Oh, absolutely. From Dundalk, 100%. Born, bred, and will probably die someday in that place. Absolutely. So now I want to get a little bit of history. So we were talking a little bit before the show. So you joined the Marine Corps in 1981.
Yes.
Now, I'm always curious why we all joined. I always tell everybody my story was My mom dated. I knew I was going to join the service, but my mom dated a guy who was a Vietnam Marine,
Mm-hmm.
and I thought he was harder than woodpecker lips, and thought, well, as hard as he is and tough as he is, I want to be like that.
Okay.
So I ended up joining the Marine Corps for that reason. What was your reasoning?
My reason was actually my best friend wanted to join the Marine. He wanted to join the Marine Corps. So
Okay.
this gentleman contacts me, tells me he wants to go in the Corps. I'm like, all right, well, I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to do. I can't say I was a stellar student. So I was like, you know what? Sounds like a good thing. I don't want to be on the block. We grew up in New York. So I grew
Okay.
up in the Bronx area. So it was like, okay. Again, that sounds like a good deal. So what ended up happening was we joined on the delayed entry program. So we were both in the 11th grade. So at the end of the 11th grade school year in summer, my friend went to take the test. I went to take the test. Only one of us ended up going in the Marine Corps because my buddy couldn't pass the test.
And isn't it amazing how that works?
Yeah. But changed my life. I can't complain.
Absolutely. Did you now? Were you one of? I always tell these stories, especially when I did 12 years, as I always say, doing the devil's work. I spent 12 of my 20 years on recruiting duty.
Okay. Yeah, the devil's work. No complaint.
I was doing the devil's work. So I always tell folks, I saw a lot of different reasons, but I used to tell kids, your first year, you're scared. Your second year, you love it. Your third year, you're over it. But at 3.5 mark, 3 years and 6 months, all of a sudden the world changes. And either at that 3 years and 6 months, you're either, I'm sticking it out and I'm just going to keep going, or it's, nah, let me get my DD 214 and bounce. How was it for you?
I did my first 4 and I was like, okay, there's other things that I wanted to do. So I got out temporarily, but then
Oh,
ended
really?
up going back. Yeah, I ended up going back because there was what I realized was that the civilian world was, I thought the Marine Corps was crazy, but the civilian world was effed up. I
Oh,
mean, there was no structure, no nothing. It was literally like the wild, wild west. And you went from one place to another and it was like totally different rules for the same thing. And that tripped me out. So I ended up going back in and I ended up doing 22 years.
so I did 20 myself. That's interesting. So what's funny to me about what you're saying is I've known a few guys that did the same thing, but look, folks, we're not talking about just the Marine Corps, but I always like talking to other Marines. It's just in my DNA. But I always tell people the reason I stuck it out after my first 4 was 100% was my mom. It was Thanksgiving. I had duty on Thanksgiving, and you know how much that's hateful. Like why I gotta do duty on Thanksgiving. And I
Uh,
remember saying to my mom, I hate this place. I hate all these assholes. I just can't wait to get out. And she goes, what are you gonna do when you get out? I don't know, but I'm done with being around all these assholes here. She goes, why? So you can deal with the assholes out here? And I was like, damn if that woman ain't right. And sure enough, I ended up sticking it out and doing 20 years on the nose. But looking at some of your history, though, Z, as I'm kind of going through, and look, folks, if you're out there watching us right now and you got some curiosity questions, you want to know anything about Z, make sure you drop your comment in the for us. And if you're looking to see what he's got going on, you can look up positiveselfdefense.org. But kind of looking at your history here of some of the things you've done, besides the 34 books, 22 years in the Marine Corps, you're also a TED Talk speaker, personal development, practical self-defense. How did you, I'm curious how you got into the space that you're in now.
okay. Long story short, a lot of it started back when I was a kid. When I was very young, my parents had taken us to a cookout. So we're up in Connecticut. We're at this cookout. Everything's cool. And there was these 2 really cute little girls there. So, I'm a little boy. I don't really know the crazy. You know what I mean?
All right.
So, I'm talking to them and these 2 girls start telling me about what their father does to them or does with them.
Oh, shit.
And I'm like, it just confused me. It didn't make any sense to me. Of course, it was bad stuff. So I told my parents. So my parents, pulled me to the side. told me that wasn't right, blah, 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 a bunch of other things that ended up occurring. And I also had an uncle that was teaching martial arts, because I've been doing martial arts for like, more than 50 years. And that kind of put me on the road to trying to help people, women's self-defense. I used to teach for the Sexual Assault Victims Advocate Service. I was one of their instructors for about 10 years for free.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I did their women's basic, women's advanced, and then resisting aggression defensively for children. Then I ended up getting into law enforcement defensive tactics and started teaching for, I taught for up in Maryland, and I also taught for Prince William and did defensive tactics for them. Then from there, of course, I had already been doing karate and jiu-jitsu, because right now I have eight black belts. So I do karate, jiu-jitsu, law enforcement defensive tactics. I do Japanese sword, live blade. I'm also ranked in judo.
Wow. I appreciate the sword stuff, because I studied Aikido for a while and got into sword. I have a Iaido, and
Okay.
used to have a Boken. I don't have my Boken anymore.
I do Mugaru.
Now, what is that?
It's a traditional Japanese sword art. Everything in Mugaru starts actually at the knees. So you start with Cesar, draw sword, and everything is from there. And we do live cuts.
Now, what about your time when you were in the Marine Corps? Were you in, like, because you would have been line training days right up to, did you make it to McMap days, or were you just line training?
All of it. Well, line training. I was supposed to get into that program, and then some other stuff happened, and I just didn't do it. Family stuff.
Gotcha. So with all these different things that you were doing, how does that translate into? Because when I think of martial arts myself, I think this is disciplined, it's structured. Probably one of my best instructors ever. His words were, learn 5 things and get really good at them if you're ever going to try to use them outside of the dojo, because most of this is very in that space. It's hard. Nobody's going to grab you around the neck and you'll be like, hold on a sec, let me grab you, twist. Like, how did you, because a lot of your stuff is about practical self-defense, practical use. How did you take all those different elements and work them together into a practical application?
Well, luckily, again, growing up in New York, I've been jumped. I've been in freaking gang wars, all types of crazy stuff that's happened, coming up. I've been literally shot. I've been stabbed. I had a man when I was 13 come after me with a hatchet hammer.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. His daughter and my little brother had gotten into something. Me and a couple of my friends are coming from the avenue. So we're walking up the parking lot, and all of a sudden I see my brother running across, and I see this man behind him, but I don't put 2 and 2 together. I can't figure why some man would be chasing my brother. So my brother comes around me, runs around to the back of me. He's like, Zurriane, blah, 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 blah. So I'm like, what? Then I look, and I've got this man, grown-ass man standing in front of me. So he's looking at me, and he's like trying to get to my brother. And I'm like, sir, I don't know what the problem is, but, I can't let you hit my brother. You're going to have to talk to my parents. Next thing I know, this dude hits me in the chest. Boom.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, I lost it. I went off on him like I was in a kung fu fighting movie. I tore him up. He leaves, runs to his house, which was I lived in the projects too. Okay. So he runs to the house, which is across the street from the projects. He comes out with a hatchet hammer and comes at me.
Oh, shit.
Like, yeah. So I've just had a lot of crazy things happen to me, and I've been able to help people to get out of those things. Like when stuff was really crazy in the 70s in New York, or the late 70s. I used to have people, now mind you, I'm that little 6'7" guy too. 5'7" guy too. And I would have people coming to me going, yo, they used to call me Zab back then. Well, we need Zab. And I was like, next thing I know, I'm in the middle of some craziness. And of course, the person who brought me is not telling the whole truth.
Don't you love those people? Aren't they your absolute favorites? You're like, wait a sec. Like, are we missing something? No. You know it all.
Yeah. But anyway, to answer your question, what ends up happening is every time I turned around, somebody else pulled me into something else, like teaching, being a defensive tactics instructor in Maryland. Somebody else pulled me into that. Being a defensive tactics instructor for Prince William, somebody else, a Captain Webb, he brings me in and tells me, you know, I want you to be a defensive tactics instructor for our officers. And I was like, the funny part was I met this guy in the law enforcement training camp, right? Down in what is it? I forgot where it is, but it's further down Virginia. So I'm down there, I'm doing the training, and this tall white guy walks up to me, right? And he goes, "How you doing?" I'm like, I'm fine. How are you? He goes, are you Zurriane Bennett? I said, yeah. He said, I understand they call you Z. I still don't know who this guy is. I'm like, yeah, I'm Z. How can I help you? He goes, I heard you're really good at martial arts. I was like, because I'd already been an officer for New York City, and I'd left New York City and moved to Virginia. So I was going through their training. So anyway, I'm going through Virginia's training. The guy walks up to me, introduces himself, all of that stuff, but he doesn't really tell me who he is or where he works for. So he tells me, okay, you got defensive tactics class coming up soon. I was like, yes, sir, I do. He goes, well, I'll be there. I go, all right, whatever. I don't care. Right. So literally he shows up. The instructor and me didn't really get along. So the instructor is trying to do some crazy stuff. We're doing the search where you put your hands up against the wall, spread your feet, that type of thing.
Yeah. Yep.
So
okay.
Against the wall, spread eagle, right? And the guy's supposed to be doing a pat frisk on me. Well, he didn't like me because I was teaching some of the other guys there different things because they found out that I knew tactics and that type of stuff.
Okay. So
this guy kicks my feet out to where I'm almost doing a split. Then, because I'm not reacting, from behind, he grabs me by the quiones.
No shit.
He's a big dude, lifts me up the wall. My hands are like this. So as I'm at the top of the wall, now mind you, the captain's seeing all of this. I turn around, I go, so you getting your rocks off? Are you happy now? So now the dude's embarrassed, right? He lets me down the wall. We go on with the class, nothing else. But Captain Webb, or Dennis Webb, he comes up to me and he goes, Bennett. It's like, yes, sir. He's like, we're going to talk again. So I was like, okay. He leaves because I still don't know who this dude is.
So he still has never identified himself.
No, I get to my unit where I'm supposed to be working at, and they come and get me. They go, hey, Bennett, Captain Webb wants to see you. I'm like, Captain who? Captain Webb. So I was like, okay, where is he? Well, he's down in the office, blah, 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 blah. So I go down there, and the guy's there, and he goes, Mr. Bennett, how are you? Captain Dennis Webb. Sticks his hand out. He's like, I'm like, oh, you're one of my captains. So he goes, yeah, I want you to be a defensive tactics instructor. Then after I'd done that for about a year, he comes back to me and says, hey, I got a job for you, Z. I was like, really? What's the job? He's like, it's perfectly up your alley. I was like, why is it perfectly up my alley? He said, it's for SAVIS, the Sexual Assault Victims Advocate Service. I was like, okay, so why is it perfect for me? He said, it's perfect for you because you're the best person for the job and they're not paying a dime.
So you ain't getting extra money and you love to go to work. So welcome to the team.
So and from that, I ended up teaching for them for just about 10 years. Just about 10 years, I taught their women's classes. So it's just always been something. Plus, I used to have a school in Woodbridge.
Okay.
Yeah. And I used to teach karate, jiu-jitsu, cardio kickboxing, and we did Japanese sword there too. That's actually where I got into traditional Mugaru Japanese sword live blade.
I mean, you've had an interesting career in the self-defense fields and staying into those things. And again, folks, if you're interested what Z's got going on, you can check out positiveselfdefense.org. You can see what he's got going on there. You can put his name in and 34 different books will pop up. He's got his TikTok, YouTube, again, the website. He's got a little bit of everything. But you've also done some mentoring work with individuals also. And I'm always curious about mentoring stuff because I run into a lot of people and they'll be like, well, hey, man, you're doing really good at fill in the blank.
Mm-hmm.
I think you should help me out. How do you personally determine, especially as somebody who has worked so hard to show people how they can empower themselves? Dude, I'm 5'7.5". So you and I are right in the same wheelhouse. When I joined the Marine Corps, I weighed 127 pounds. You know, yeah. So you and I were in the same wheelhouse. You just happened to be in New York City. I was in East Baltimore. So I understand where you're coming from, but I'm always curious about mentorship also. And I think a lot of people look at us as Marines and go like, oh, well, you should be able to mentor me. And then we either mentor our way or we have conversations with people and they can't understand it. Is this something that you've gravitated towards? Like you reach out to people like, hey, I'd like to mentor you, or people have come to you. How do you get into that?
Most
Especially
of it
with
is,
the underserved communities.
yeah, almost all of it has been people coming to me. Like right now, I've got about 3 or 4 different ladies that have come to me and asked me, could I mentor them with different things? And depending on who it is, most of the time, I kind of shy back because unfortunately, there's always other drama. You know what I mean? And I've been happily married for 35 years. I don't need drama.
Yeah.
You know?
And you can keep all that.
Yeah,
What?
yeah. But, most people come to you. Most of the people that come to me that I end up running into come to me. That's like I was teaching a class for the actually last month. I was teaching a class for the Southern Poverty Law Center, and I
Never
was
heard.
yeah they were big into the civil rights thing. So
Okay.
back when like Martin Luther King and all of them were around, that's when that particular branch grew. They have about 12 offices throughout the United States.
Oh wow.
And I was actually teaching out of their DC office because their head of security asked me would I be willing to teach a program for them. And the funny thing is that they hired an executive protector, really nice guy, 6'7", and he was talking to me.
His
And,
presence is self-defense.
huh?
A guy 6'7", his presence is just self-defense. Like when you're that size.
Yeah, it is. But it was it was funny because we got into this conversation, and he watched the class. They hired him to work with their director, but now he's talking about being one of my students.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And I mean, I think the coolest thing for me was teaching a Japanese art to actually Japanese and Korean people.
Oh
I
no
thought
shit.
yeah.
That's wild. And look, for those of you that are out there live, especially those of you on YouTube and Facebook there, if you have questions for Z, you're curious about either getting into this field or getting into any of his books, please let us know. So kind of going further into, this empowerment mindset. And I love the fact that you've worked with so many different groups and all that. How do you start that mindset? How do you and it's tough for me because, you know, hey, I go to the gym because that's what I'm supposed to do. That's ingrained in me. How do you work with folks that maybe they've never had that mindset, that self-defense mindset to move forward?
Well, first off, it's meeting people where they are and then
Yeah.
working from there. What I
What do you
mean
mean?
by that is that you've got some people that it's like, let's say a hypothetical. I've got a guy that comes into the dojo, right? He wants to learn, let's say, karate or jujitsu or what have you. Well, now what we need to do is we need to find out where that person is. Did you take martial arts before? Do you think you knew martial arts? Did you take martial arts 20 years ago, but don't remember 5 things from it, but think you're a black belt? You know what I mean? Are you totally out of shape? All of these different things. Where's your mindset? And then once you get an idea what that person's mindset is, then you decide, is this somebody I want to work with? Is this somebody I want to deal with? Is this somebody that I can help? Or is this somebody that I could help, but are they going to be open to the help? Because that's the other thing. If they've already, what is it? A man who's forced against his will is of the same opinion still.
Listen, you got a lot of t-shirts so far. Like that's 2 t-shirts for you. You know that, right?
Okay.
It's 2. We're up to 2 t-shirts, Chief Warrant Officer. Listen, that's 2 already. Like don't like we can start an entire line of Z says shirts.
Well, here's one thing I say to people all the time. What you don't change, you accept. And a lot of people don't understand that. A lot of people also, when I tell them that sometimes you have to think small, I go, you need to understand that thinking small isn't being small. All right.
Amen.
So thinking small doesn't mean being small. It means that everything is in a step. I can't get from one place to the other without making some steps or some lunges or something. but I also have to be prepared to step. I have to be prepared to lunge. I have to be prepared to run. And that's a process. And most of us didn't get effed up in a day. We got effed up over a period of time. And if we don't accept, right, and if we don't accept change, we have a problem, you know, and clarity comes from engagement, not from thought.
That I cannot, I've never heard it better. And I try to explain this to my children. That is, Z, you are 1,000% correct. I always tell my kids, it's the brick that makes the wall, not the wall that makes the bricks. Focus on the little things. Focus on the details. It really matters. A lot of people today in general, and it's not kids, it's just people in general. They want the cake, but they don't want to bake it.
Well, you know what I tell people? I go, okay, I got a question for you. They go, yeah. I said, you have a $5 million house. They go, yeah. I said, but you have a $5,000 foundation. How much is your house worth?
That's on point.
Yeah. What is it? It's a Viktor Frankl quote that I modified. It's between stimulus and response, there's a space. In that space, we have a choice, the choice to choose our response. In that response lies your joy, your happiness, and your future. Choose wisely.
Now, you got me curious about something. So a lot of these quotes and stuff like that, can't say I'm a reader as much as I used to be. I'm a listener a lot more because I spend a lot of time behind the wheel with my business. So I listen to a lot of audiobooks. Are you a big reader? Is that your how you get into more of the mindset stuff? How do you approach that?
I'm a child of parents that were lovers of chemistry.
Okay.
And I don't mean in a positive way.
What do you mean? I got you.
So because of that, and because of my environment growing up, I was always looking for things to try to make sense of it, you know, because I didn't really have role models growing up. My role model, believe it or not, was Dr. Spock off of Star Trek.
And listen, there's nothing wrong with that.
Because everything with him was logical. My first person I ever saw get shot was in my kitchen. And the person that shot the man was the woman that shot her husband, right? The husband was a cop, and he was in my kitchen with my parents. You know, they were playing cards and stuff like that. And whatever happened there. When I was 13, it was 12. When I was 12, I was walking into my building one day, and there used to be this girl. Well, she's still around. Beautiful. I thought she was the most beautiful girl on the planet. I'm walking in the building, and she's coming towards me, and she's holding her neck like this. And all of a sudden, I noticed that there was red all down here. Her boyfriend had cut her throat. She lived, but she's got a huge scar across here. You know, when I was, 9 or 10, I went to go see my cousin who lived on the 9th floor. I'm coming downstairs, and as I'm coming down, I get to the 7th floor, and I realize that there's no out from there. There's an out to the basement, but not an out to the front of the building. So I stop on the 7th floor, go around to go to the other stairway, because there's only 2 stairways. When I go around to the other side to get to the other stairway, there's a little girl's body laying in front of the elevator door with no head. The little girl had stepped up on the little stopper, and somebody had knocked out the glass, and I guess she got impatient. She had stuck her head through just as the elevator had come down.
Z, you have
yes, sir.
You have 34 books. Which one is about your life?
Not one.
That's bullshit.
Not one.
That's bullshit.
Not one.
You heard that, right? You heard that trumpet.
Every time I've tried to start writing my little life story, something stupid has happened, and I've either crashed the computer, or what have you.
No, you haven't. Here's what you've done.
Okay.
And see, I'm going to be this guy today. This is why I love other Marines, because this is the shit we do to each other. The reason you haven't finished it is because as you say these things, I can see the look in your face where you're like, fuck, man, I saw some shit before I ever saw some shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you don't want to sit down and write that, because then you have to relive some shit. Because if you put it on pen and paper, that makes it real. brother, you got a hell of a story there. Like, these are conversations I normally have once the cameras, like, we're not recording. I have with folks, and I'm sorry, Z, and we'll get back to your thing, man. But you're like, folks, I promise you, if you talk to many, many Marines, not that Z's, I'm not downplaying, but you have a very typical of a lot of the cats I grew up with. My boy Bobby Ray Willis, he knows I love him to death. If he called me now, I'd be in Mississippi. God, I hate going to Mississippi, but I'd be in Mississippi. And he would tell you, like, bro, I was a gangbanger. I was a black gangster disciple, and we were thick as thieves. Like, Z, you saw some shit before you ever saw some shit.
Mm-hmm.
How much has that had an effect? I mean, and I know we talked about it a little bit, and you were like, well, I saw this, I saw it. But let's be real. Like, how much of that really digs into getting into this community empowerment and getting to the root of the truth for people? How much of that really digs into that?
Probably a heck of a lot. And I try, like you said, I try not to think of it that way. Because I remember me and my friend Brent, we were playing catch one day. And true story, I'm throwing the football at him, he's throwing it back. One of the times I threw it to him, instead of him throwing it back, he decided to come at me, like he was going to get past me with the ball. Brent took about maybe 10, 15 steps. At the end of that 10, 15 steps, all of a sudden behind him, I saw something hit the ground. Boom. It was a woman. She had jumped out of the 7th floor window, right? The last thing she did was go, and that was it. When I got to her, she did that little breathe thing, and that was it. She was going through postpartum depression. She had just had a baby not too long ago.
And you're from that other New York City. Like you're from that New York City where I'll burn my building down because the insurance money is worth more than what that building's worth, that today would be worth millions upon millions.
Oh,
you're from that New York. You're from that New York where, Bumpy was gone. He wasn't running shit the way he used to. Mm-hmm. And you had other cats that were running a heroin trade through New York City.
Yeah.
And I've read Bumpy's book. Just that's the guy I am. I've read his book and everything. Well, I read his book that his wife wrote about his life. So
Bumpy.
we'll call about that. But I mean, I'm sorry, man. I want to keep going into this other stuff. And if I'm wrong, fix me. But good. I mean, your life to me is absolutely fascinating, what you've gone through. So you then take that, you've seen death growing up. You watch people go, you watch people get shot. And like I know, you get into the Marine Corps barracks, and a guy like you who's lived all those things, you think everybody's lived that. You're next to a kid from Connecticut or from farm country, Ohio, who the only thing he ever saw die was his daddy put down a cow. You know what I mean? And you might have been the first brother he ever met, especially back then.
Oh yeah.
Look, I tell people all the time, I never met a dude. I met one Hispanic dude my entire life.
Really?
Before the Marine Corps. Bro, there's no, dude, where I'm from in Baltimore, you were either white, Irish, white, Italian, or you was black. That was it. There wasn't nothing else. Like, we had one exchange student, and he was like, this is the crazy shit. He was an exchange student from like Puerto Rico or some shit like that. Like, and the only thing that was cool about him was like, tell us cuss words in Spanish. Because we were dumbass kids. But
well, you're right. When I was in Japan, I was in Itakuni, Japan, and then I was a corporal. I had this one dude, that white guy. He fucking hated me. He hated the fact that he had to take orders from me. He hated the fact that he had to listen to me at all. So one day I just had enough, and I was like, you know what, man? He's like, yeah, you take those stripes off. I'll kick you. Da 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 da. I was like, you know what, man? Check it out. When we get off today, because we work 24s and 48s, so when we get off, we can go to the gym. They got a boxing ring in the gym, and we can do whatever it is you want to do. And he was a big dude too. And he was like, yeah, well, don't you do none of that mushu wushu shit on me. I was like, don't worry about that. he didn't know I was pre-Golden Gloves back in the day. So it's like, okay. So we get there. He quit before, I think he quit before the second round. They had volleyball on one side, basketball on the other side, and the fighting ring in the middle. People stopped playing volleyball that didn't know me or him and stopped playing basketball to watch me whip his ass.
That sounds like the Marine Corps.
But it was just, again, and unfortunately, we're getting to some really crazy times. Like I don't do bodyguarding. I don't do security, any of that stuff. Almost every day I show my wife stuff where people are literally reaching out to me, asking me, will I do private investigations for them? And it's for crazy stuff, cheating, all types of silly stuff. And I'm like, where the hell, how did they even find me?
Did you have a PI license?
No.
See, my best friend, I have 3 guys that I would call four I would call my best friends. And one of them did EP work where you were talking about that. And I was just curious if you also had the PI side. So they're just reaching out to you like, hey, Z, I want you to go follow my ex-wife.
No, they're sending me entire profiles.
Oh, shit.
And I'm like, what? I showed my wife, I'm like, look at this one. Name, what's the problem? They want to know what my fee is, all that stuff. I have no clue. But anyway, back to what we were talking about before.
No, but brother, that's why, I'm just hearing your story. You really, I mean, it makes a lot of sense to me as I understand more, teaching these practical tools for people. And again, folks, if you're curious what Z's got going on and you want to know more about him, positiveselfdefense.org. You can see what he's got going on. He's got another website. I think since we've started this conversation, he's on book like 38 or 39. He's already finished since the conversation has started because he's just that kind of guy. He's already he just laughed. He just finished 4 more books. He's just that kind of guy. He's a really nice guy. He's a really nice guy. He just gets books done like just that quick. It's all those kind of things happening. So
the newest one.
Now the newest one, I Can and I Will. Now what's that one about?
I Can, I Will Because the Devil is a Liar. That book is actually about you taking control of your life and you moving on with whatever it is that you need to move on from to your new life. Now, the next book actually that's going to be coming out, that book is being edited right now, is called The Art of Unbreakability.
What's that about?
That book is basically about you have everything that you need. You are unbreakable. No matter what it is that you've gone through, somebody else has gone through it and you can learn from that and move forward. So everything that I write is pretty much about empowerment or about development. And I put quotes in there. I put examples in there. I try to make it as, like you said before, like this conversation, to where you're having a conversation with somebody that you're bellying up to the bar as your quote, and getting information that you can use, which is funny because the book, I Can, I Will, I got a call from a lady the other day, actually a month ago. Lady called me the other day and she goes, can I talk to you, Mr. Bennett? I was like, sure. She goes, well, I read your book. I was like, well, I'm glad. Did you find it useful? She's like, oh my God. She works for the government. And she said that she contacted the, they have employee assistance. Okay. So she's been having some problems with, stress at work, stuff like that. She called me to tell me that she got more she said, I got more from your fucking book than I did from this professional. Oh my God. I'm listening to her and I'm like, I don't know why I called you. I just needed to continue to read Mr. Bennett's book. I was like, you told the lady that? She's like, yeah, because it was a joke. It was a goddamn joke. And I was like, wow. Well, thank you.
That's brother. That's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Where does the inspiration for so many books though come from? Like, I mean, some people, like, I got a book sitting on this computer that will never get finished. And I hate to say it that way. I've even tried doing like the speaking the notes out and all that stuff. It'll never get finished. Someday somebody can ask me about it and I'll tell them the entire rest of the story. But I'm not built for it like that. I'm that Marine that, like, hey, I need you to sit here for a minute. Fuck you do. I need to keep moving. I got to keep going. I'm that kid.
I
But
got you.
like, how do you sit down and get through so many different books? I mean, you told me 34 beforehand. Now you're saying that's 35 and 36 is getting ready to come out.
I have 13 more books that I plan to write. I've written the outlines for them. I've written the outlines for 6 of the 13, but I know what the titles are. I know what the basic premises of all of them. Now, the books that are presently, 8 of my books that are out are self-help books.
Okay.
Then I ended up writing a bunch of books under a pen name to honor my wife's grandmother. So there's also those books. But basically, all it is like any little subject. If you write just a couple of sentences a day, you know what I mean? You like get a journal, write a couple of sentences a day. Dude, at the end of the year, you got like 300 pages. You know what I mean? It's really, like I said before, it's about steps. It's about taking your time to do whatever it is. Like the 13 books that I want to write, they're all fiction.
Gotcha.
And for the most part, most of them just need to be edited. You know what I mean? To fix me. Because like you said, I'm a Marine.
And it's so fucking horrible. Like it's almost like an affliction. Like, let's call it what it is.
Okay.
When we join, it becomes an affliction. I heard somebody say there's a guy online. I don't know if you've ever followed him on TikTok, the Fat Electrician. Have you ever followed this guy? Check the kid out. I call him a kid because I know he's younger than we are, but he like talks military history and different stuff. And he's like, I love Marines. They are the CrossFit of the military. They will if you want to know where the Marine is, just wait a minute. He'll tell you, because he doesn't want you to ever make a mistake that he was part of any other branch of service. Just give it him. And I'm like, yeah, that's 100% us. I will make sure that you don't ever mistake me for, and especially like, so what was it like being a soldier? I don't know. I was a Marine. Don't look, you're shaking your head. For those of you who aren't watching the live, Z is shaking his head like, yeah, don't ever call me that. Like I'll be damned if you call me that.
Right.
So I mean, Z. So we've got all these different things going on. You're absolutely fascinating to me.
Well, thank you.
You truly are, because you and I would have gotten in trouble in the Marine Corps because you're older than me, so you'd have probably yelled at me, and I'd have been like, Gunny, I got this, and you'd have been like, Murphy, no, you don't. And I'd be like, nah, I'm good.
Oh, dude, I could tell you a story that happened in my Marines once that I thought was crazy. We were doing a joint mission, and we were at one of the bases in North Carolina. I'm not going to say the particular one.
Well, there's only 3. 4.
Let's leave it alone. So I'm away, right? I come back. I find out that they had locked the base down.
Oh, shit.
The reason that they locked the base down was because somebody acquired a ship that had been donated by some brigadier general that had built himself a model ship. You know those huge ones?
Oh, yeah.
That was in. Guess where the ship was when it came up disappearing?
Oh, was it in one of your guys' barracks room?
No. Guess where it was missing from?
Oh, let's see. Missing from, I'm going to guess that
the worst place that it could be besides his house.
Base, his office?
No.
Base headquarters?
Who's in charge of investigating everything?
Oh, no. It was over at not the JAG, the NCIS. Oh, no.
And I come to the barracks one day for just whatever. And guess what I find in the barracks?
What?
That ship.
Oh, no.
So I talked to, at that time, I wasn't a warrant officer. I was a gunny then. So I end up talking to the warrant officer that's in charge. And I go, dude, you just made whoa. He's like, yeah. I was like, I'm letting you know that this is going on, but I'm going to handle it. So he was like, "You're going to handle it." I said, "Yeah, I'll handle it." I said, "You don't need to have no parts of this. All right. Because you're going to be here like a hot minute." So I ended up going over there and talking to them, giving them this ship, all this other stuff. They put me through this 9-act play, but nobody got brig time. Nobody got a page 11. Nobody got an Article 13, and everybody went on.
That's a beautiful thing, man.
Because
Folks,
here's that drunk.
listen, I have so many stories like that. Look, folks, it's the New Scotland last call. Discover the spirit of the Highlands right here in New York at New Scotland Spirits. We're more than just whiskey makers. We're storytellers, distillers of heritage, and champions of locally grown grain. Every bottle is handcrafted, bold, and unapologetically New York. Whether you're sipping, gifting, or stocking your bar, make something memorable. Choose New Scotland Spirits. Visit newscotlandspirits.com and taste the tradition. New Scotland Spirits, distilled with pride, enjoyed with purpose. There you go, man. That's a new look. That's your home state, little New York, there.
Yeah.
That's up in here in the land of the lost, though.
I hear you. Well, I'm going to try to leave your guys with something that might be able to help them.
Yeah, please.
I'm actually go from my because I don't want to miss anything. Let's say 5 ways to achieve personal life mastery. 1 is developing self-awareness. All right. You can't change what you're not aware of. A lot of people don't realize that they're a problem. So they need to realize that they have a problem and then go to work from there. So you need to practice mindfulness or meditation. You need to journal through your thoughts and your trigger points and whatever behaviors are causing you the problems. You need to reflect on your values, your strengths, and your weaknesses. But mainly you want to work on your strengths. And then from there, your weaknesses will calm down as you make your adjustments. You want to ask yourself for honest feedback from people that you trust. If your friend's a knucklehead, don't ask your knucklehead for advice. Ask somebody that you respect, a mentor, something like that. Understand who you are and who you are at your core, and then you need to act and not react. All right. Mastering emotions. You need emotional registration. What you need is emotional data, not a directive. So you want to pause before you react. You want to breathe. You want to label your feelings and understand what you're going through. You want to use techniques that are cognitive and reflective for your emotional journaling. You want to learn to sit in comfort and understand that if you have discomfort rather than that you need to escape from that. You need to find a way out of that discomfort that isn't drugs, alcohol, or you doing something else that's going to be detrimental to your life. You need to practice gratitude and also compassion and balance, because there's a lot of negative emotions that go through most of us. And then responding and not reacting, and then compose what you're going to do. Number 3, you need to build a consistent habit of discipline. One of the things we learned in the Marine Corps, even though some of us didn't really want to follow it. Discipline is choosing what you want more over than what wants you. Okay, what is it that you want? Not other people that are going to give you attention that you don't need. You need to start small with the key habits, and you need to make sure that you get sleep, rest, and you need to read. Okay. Then from there, we need to make habits and stack them into an environmental design to reduce friction. We need to track and celebrate our consistency and over intensity. So you want to be consistent in what you do and not just do things that are going to make time go by. You also need to clarify your purpose and your vision. The correct direction is more important than speed. Doing it fast is worthless if it's not giving you anything. You need to also define your long-term goals. Who do you want to become? That's your goal. Who do you want to become? No matter what age you are. Because if you're older, you still got, there's still time. There's still ways that you can do the things that you want to do. You want to break down those actions into steps and make them time bound. All right. Everybody wants to get somewhere, but if you don't plan where you're going to go, then somebody else is going to tell you where you're going to go. And that's probably not where you want to be. All right. And you need to revisit and revise your vision regularly. Understand that there's going to be roadblocks. There's going to be things that get in your way. There's going to be things that cause you a problem. You need to work around them and remove those things that you can. Everybody wants to say that they're a self-made whatever. That's bullshit. Right. Everybody had help, no matter who you are. And then you want to cultivate a growth mindset. All right. You're always working on progress. You want to embrace challenges as opportunities to learn. You want to replace I can't with I can learn. You want to surround yourself with people who challenge you and inspire you. And you want to reflect on your failures with curiosity, not judgment. That's another thing. We all blame ourselves for stuff that didn't work out, but that was part of what helps you grow. That was part of what's going to get you to the next level if you learn from those things. And then that constantly evolving through effort and learning is the key to whatever it is that you want to do. So in a short realm, own your mindset, positive thinking to change. All right, set clear and specific goals and deadlines. Invest in daily habits that are going to help you. Build a support system and relationship, be it the people around you. And remember, too, if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room.
Amen.
Okay. And then you want to learn to adapt and keep moving forward. Those are the things that are going to set you free as you move forward. And, I'm working on this course now. It's called Midlife Mastery. And trust me, it's been a challenge. But most of the challenge has been with the programs that I'm using to write it, because I'm trying to make it to where everything is digital. And because that way it's easier to track, easier to put down. But the system's been acting really stupid lately. But
technology moves at the speed of smell many times.
Yeah. And again, whatever you believe that you can do it. It's just you have to be willing to do the work and do the effort. Motivation is just the starting of an engine. Inspiration is just the starting of an engine. It's that effort and that consistency that are going to get you to your goals. Hopefully that helps.
It does, because you kind of, a couple of things you said just now, I'm curious of, why do you, growing up, we saw, when you're 20, the 30-year-old has it all figured out, 30, the 40-year-old, 50, the 60-year-old, and so forth and so on. Why do you think sometimes, and I ain't gonna ask how many seasons you got under your belt, brother, but why do you think people stop trying to figure out who they are and just kind of give up on that? Why do you think that is?
Most people get sick and tired of being sick and tired, and they put trust in things that they shouldn't put trust in, and they put energy in things that they shouldn't put energy in. And because of those things, they get burnt out. I've had a lot of different lives, as you said before. I used to manage information systems contracts. I used to have $90 million in contracts. I had 386 employees. I've never missed a metric, never dropped a deliverable. But every time that I've changed careers, I've run into people that either see me as a threat, and I don't want their job. I don't want what they do. In some cases, I make more money than them anyway. But I don't understand it. The last thing that I was doing, or last thing I've done as an actual job being paid by somebody, is I was a management and program analyst for one of the larger entities. So I'm doing contracts that are several $1 million or several $100 million, and I'm running into people and I'm like, okay, you told me you don't know jack about contracts, but now you're trying to tell me how to run a contract. I'm lost here, but that's just it. Everybody right now is scared, and most of them don't even know what they're scared of. Everybody's threatened, but they don't know what they're threatened of. And then the things that they actually go to, those are the things that are a threat. So the thing that you're saying is going to help you is the thing that's actually the most threatening to your life and your well-being and your family. But that's the thing that you've decided is going to help you. I'm lost. I'm totally lost. I mean, I have conversations with some people and I just look at them and go, you have a nice day. Well, don't stop. I do this to people all the time. Stop. No, I'm not going there with you. You don't know what the hell you're talking about. I had a lady from New York, a captain in the Army, try to tell me about some shit that happened in New York. I was there when that happened. None of the shit you just told me is correct, but I did this. I went, really? Because it was a waste.
You got to beat feet.
Yeah, because you got people that will swim oceans, climb mountains to be right. But dude, there's an elevator, an escalator right there. There's a ship that'll take you across. There's a bridge 5 steps away. But you're telling me that you needed to do this. And it's not for your fitness. It's not for your well-being. It's just because you're stubborn and ignorant and you refuse to accept anything from anybody else.
Amen. brother, Z, I could probably sit and talk to you for hours. I don't know. See, I have
I
my burp.
appreciate you slumming.
Listen, brother. Listen, we be all right. We can do old school. We can do old school Marine Corps. Crack a bottle of Boone's Farm and St. Ides, and we just make it happen. You know,
Ooh, you really went back, didn't you?
we can go back like in the days like when we used to do it, how we did it. Hurricane parties and the whole 9 yards. You know, everything you say, and God, I could probably spend another hour with you because you were talking about, gratitude and why do you think, and I'm curious, like, I'm going to ask this last question before we close up shop here. Why do you think it's so hard for people to be thankful for, like, give gratitude, to be like, hey, thanks, I appreciate that? Why do you think that's so hard for people?
As the people before us used to say, it's because we don't use a crock pot mindset anymore. Now we use a microwave.
Oh, I've never heard that, but it makes perfect sense to me.
Plus that nobody wants to wait. Nobody wants to listen. Everybody's waiting. They're talking to you, and instead of them listening to what you're saying, they're trying to come up with their response, no matter how much they don't know. And they want, just look around you right now. And I'm gonna stay away from it. I was about to say politics, but I'm like,
I don't give a shit. This is my show. I can do anything I want.
You have a person in charge of education who literally goes on national television and says, well, there's this A1 program that we're going to have for kindergartens. It's AI.
Yeah.
Okay. We have a guy that's in charge of health services that literally took his kids into pretty much an infested lake, a lake that's got all types of freaking E. coli and everything. He not only went in there himself, he took his grandchildren.
But he did get rid of the red dye 40. I mean,
whatever. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we're going to get rid of $1 trillion. It cost, we got rid of 100 billion, and it cost us 133 billion, but we were supposed to be getting rid of $1 trillion.
Oh, you saw Eli called him out, or Elon called him out, right?
Yeah, that's because he lost $50 billion, and now he's trying to fix shit.
Well, Elon called him out because he's like, hold on, you guys asked me to come over here and do all this shit, and now you ain't gonna do none of it.
Well, now he's talking about that their bill is garbage. It's like, hold up.
Oh yeah, he called it out. He called it out as garbage.
But my whole thing is, look at all of the people in this area that are now no longer have a job right now.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Look at all of the companies. Yeah, look at all of the companies, no matter where you are, that are going to be affected by this, because the government is the largest employer in the freaking United States. Absolutely. So a lot of contracts and things like that, or funding for different things.
Well, listen, folks, if you liked what Z's got to say, you can check him out on positiveselfdefense.org. You can see what he has going on. You got any upcoming speaking engagements? Anything where people can see you live?
Not right now. I got another group that's asking me to do another another TED talk. So I'm looking at that, and I'm looking for more speaking gigs, because I really do like doing it. I found that I love to teach, and motivating people and giving people inspiration and giving them actual tangible things that work. That's like my passion.
Well, look, folks, go see what Z's got going on. See what he has happening. Make sure you're following him online. You can see what he's got going on. That's Zurriane. I'm jacking it up. So I told you. Zurriane. I told you. Listen, as a gunner sergeant, I've just been like, hey, mother. Zurriane Bennett, and Zurriane is Zurriane, and then Bennett, BE, 2 N's, E, 2 T's. See what he's got going on. And if you're finding us through Z or Z through us, make sure you join us every Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're always doing a live show. Next week, we have a gentleman by the name of Atiq Ahmed. Atiq wrote look, we're staying with New York for a little bit, brother. Atiq wrote a book on the New York locks. And if you don't know what the New York locks are, to give you an example, the Hudson and Mohawk River have the largest transfer of water on the East Coast. It's 12 feet difference between them, and they meet actually right here in the capital region of Albany. and they actually flood them. And those locks at one point in time were one of the most important waterways here in the East Coast. That's how we shipped goods out of Canada down here, the whole 9 yards. So Atik wrote a book on that. So we're going to be talking about that. Z, you should join us for that one. That's your home state, brother. You got to know about these things. So make sure you're joining us. We do this again, like I said, every Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Now, Z, I know you are fully immersed in everything, the Above the Bar podcast. You know everything we got going on. And I know you know what's coming up next, but just in case you don't remember, because it happens. It happens to the best of us. And don't log off on me afterwards. We got to talk for a moment afterwards. The guest always gets the final word. So what is our final word for tonight?
Simplify.
Hurrah. Be sure to push your stool in. This has been a Second Front podcast presentation found on Apple, Spotify, and wherever podcasts can be found.